The Hollywood chapter of Harry and Meghan's fairy tale is heading for a dramatic season finale. And spoiler alert, Netflix isn't renewing. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex wants streaming royalty with a $100 million crown jewel of a deal.
He can play pretend all he wants that he's still royal or that he's setting up his own royal group of staff, but he's not.
The moment Prince Harry discovered the Dorian Awards listed him as plain Harry Windsor instead of His Royal Highness, his carefully constructed post-royal facade shattered completely. What followed wasn't just a celebrity meltdown, it was a desperate man's public breakdown when Hollywood refused to bow to unemployed royalty. The Dorian Awards, organized by Galeka, became the stage for what many are calling Prince Harry's most tone-deaf public appearance to date. Harry attended the ceremony expecting recognition not just for his work in documentary and streaming content, but more importantly, expecting the reverence and protocol befitting his former royal status. The trouble began before Harry even arrived at the venue. His team had made a specific request to the event organizers that he be introduced as His Royal Highness Prince Harry during any on-stage appearances or official announcements. This request immediately created tension behind the scenes, as it directly violated the agreement Harry made with the royal family in 2020 when he stepped back from royal duties, which explicitly prohibited the use of HRH titles for commercial or public events.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle surprised everyone yesterday. They said they are taking a step back from their roles as senior members of the royal family. They say that they will become financially independent, split their time between Britain and North America.
What happened next wasn't an oversight, it was a calculated decision that would define the entire evening. The Dorian Awards organizers, after internal discussions about royal protocol and credibility, made the conscious choice to list Harry simply as Harry Windsor in all official communications and announcements. Sources close to the awards production confirmed this was a deliberate act, with the leadership team concluding that after Harry's public attacks on the monarchy and his abandonment of royal duties, he no longer deserved royal recognition. When Harry discovered this during rehearsals, witnessing his name listed as Harry Windsor Producer without any royal titles, his reaction was immediate and explosive. Multiple witnesses reported that he stared at the document for several seconds before muttering, "That's not my name." He then demanded that coordinators fix it before the ceremony, only to be told it was a final decision made by the awards board. The psychological impact of this rejection became painfully obvious as the evening progressed. Camera crews captured footage of Harry brushing off a producer's greeting as he entered the venue, his jaw tight and lips pressed together. The man was visibly struggling with being treated like an ordinary industry professional.
I don't think there's a future here, and I think the one issue that Harry and Meghan are going to have in the nearby future is money.
Multiple sources confirmed that Harry raised his voice at backstage coordinators, insisting that his title wasn't just ceremonial, but part of his legal name, and that omitting it was deeply disrespectful. However, the Dorian Awards' internal policies were clear. No nominee, regardless of background, receives honorifics. The committee's standard practice names individuals based on professional credit alone. No doctor, no sir, no prince. The public unraveling of Prince Harry at the Dorian Awards was anything but accidental. It was the latest salvo in an ongoing, very public recalibration of his status in both Hollywood and the royal ecosystem. In fact, this snub, like so many before it, is part of a deliberate movement across entertainment power circles to draw a bold line between the gloss of inherited status and the reality of modern celebrity relevance. The sting of being introduced as plain Harry Windsor and then getting booed for it wasn't random. It was the inevitable next step after a string of humiliations that now define Harry's American era.
The reality is, in the past, they got support from the King and the late Queen, and that they said they were going to go and make their way. They've lost Spotify, they've lost Netflix. They can't rely on the spare money forever, can they?
Hollywood is brutal to those who can't read the room, and Harry's tone-deaf demands to be called His Royal Highness on a night dedicated to trailblazing content creators was a textbook misstep. This wasn't a royal garden party, it was a celebration of authenticity, where fame is measured by artistry, consistency, and cultural impact, not by outdated forms of address. Dorian organizers knew exactly what denying Harry the HRH meant. It was a direct and visible message to the industry. The rules have changed, and royal titles are meaningless currency when you're not actually working for the monarchy anymore.
Hollywood A-listers are distancing themselves from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and are instead supporting the King and Prince William.
The standoff over his title wasn't just about ego, it was a symptom of a deeper crisis. Insiders report that far from being a one-off snub, the Dorian incident followed weeks of rising tension and private warnings from publicists, studio executives, and even Meghan herself. Harry's insistence on protocol and ceremony, rather than creative merit or network savvy, now reads as a relic of a past life. His rigid attachment to the status symbols of royalty, while publicly claiming to have shed them, has only made him less sympathetic and more baffling to Hollywood gatekeepers who value hustle, humility, and relevance over heritage. That the booing at the Dorian Awards turned into meme fodder overnight only made matters worse. Instantly, social media lit up with clips of Harry's petulant reaction, his obvious discomfort, and his awkward exit. Fans who once romanticized the rebellious prince now see a wealthy man refusing to abide by the terms he himself agreed to when stepping back. No HRH for commercial gain, no special treatment for nostalgia's sake. The crowd's response was a collective verdict that Harry's royal brand is, in this context, utterly irrelevant. Far from being a lone slip-up, Harry's Dorian meltdown must be read as the culmination of a series of calculated rejections. Power brokers, from top streaming executives to legacy Hollywood PR strategists, are drawing boundaries with him just as clearly as the royals did back in 2020. They've realized what the public now senses. Associating with Harry and Meghan doesn't guarantee prestige or profit. In fact, it's increasingly seen as risky. His walkout didn't just end the night in embarrassment, it started a slow retreat of industry offers, strategic partnerships, and even A-list invitations.
Because there was always this big discussion about how do they move forward without it looking like they're trying to hang on to the royal title and saying, look, we're royals, but we're not royals, and that's why we need to kind of sign up to these deals.
What's most damning for the Sussex brand is how quickly loyalties fade when the magic dust of royalty wears off. Meghan's conspicuous absence at the event, seen by many as a wise move to safeguard her own networking, left Harry even more exposed. Reports from the industry suggest Meghan warned Harry not to escalate the title dispute, recognizing that in Hollywood, optics are currency. Her decision to stay home, however, did little to rescue the Sussex narrative from ridicule. In the aftermath, the industry chatter has become simply unforgiving. Studio executives are reportedly putting deals on pause, worried Harry's personal brand brings more drama than value. As one industry leader pithily summarized, "We don't bow to royalty here, especially unemployed royalty. Producers who once saw potential in Harry's tell-all stories or royal cachet now worry more about his unpredictability and the optics of privilege run amok." Let's be honest, if you've watched Harry and Meghan's post-royal roller coaster, you know King Charles's warnings are echoing louder than ever. Remember when he cautioned Harry to make sure to have a solid plan for the future, not just a burst of cash and headlines? Well, here we are 5 years in, the windfall from Netflix, Spare, and splashy media deals is fading, and it's suddenly looking like Dad knew exactly what was coming.
And I think it's exactly what the King warned Harry about. Make sure you've got a good plan for your exit. 5 years down the line, they've done okay, they've made a lot of money, and Spare made him a lot of money. But is it going to be enough to sustain them? I doubt it.
It's not like the Sussexes haven't made money. Spare was a chart topper, and their Netflix checks made it rain in Montecito for a while. Meghan's As Ever brand, meanwhile, tries to keep the hype alive. Things always sold out on her website. But is that because demand is off the charts? Or did she just keep the first run tiny? No one knows what's real because if we're honest, this business model looks more like smoke and mirrors than long-term security. The real issue? The costs never stop climbing. The mansion, the staff, the security bill, and the bottomless expenses for maintaining that Hollywood glow. At first, no problem. Just sign another blockbuster deal and order another tray of lavender jam, right? But with the Netflix partnership cooling off and not a new runaway hit in sight, every little thing starts to count. Those limited edition jars may grab quick cash now, but how many seasons can you hype the same handful of products before the public shrugs and scrolls past? And with Harry, he's out there, reportedly looking for his own next big project, something to keep the dollars flowing and the brand relevant. But let's be real, every time he goes commercial, everyone raises an eyebrow. Isn't this the guy who ran from royal duty to get privacy? The risk of being called a sellout starts to feel all too real. If his next move flops, it's not just a bad quarter, it's ammo for everyone doubting the Sussex's staying power. Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to talk about, and it's going to make your jaw drop. Everything King Charles warned Prince Harry about is coming true in spectacular fashion, and now we're watching the most humiliating crawl back to daddy in royal history. This isn't just about money running out. This is about a man who thought he could burn every bridge and still cross back over when convenient. Harry made serious money initially. The Netflix deal brought in millions. Spare became a bestseller, and for a hot minute, it looked like the California dream was working. But here's what the king understood that Harry didn't. Windfall money isn't sustainable money, especially when you're living like you've got unlimited royal funding while actually having very limited earning potential.
He really has to become genuine about admitting some fault, admitting to throwing mud at his family, putting his late grandmother under terrible stress during her final years, and his grandfather.
The math is absolutely devastating when you break it down. That Montecito mansion, it's bleeding money faster than a sinking ship. We're talking $288,000 annually just in property taxes, plus another $2 million to $3 million for security, plus staff salaries, plus maintenance, plus all the lifestyle costs that come with trying to look like Hollywood royalty. Meanwhile, what's coming in? A big fat nothing burger now that Netflix has shown them the door. Here's where it gets really juicy, and this is the part that proves King Charles was playing chess while Harry was playing checkers. The secret meeting between Harry's team and Charles's representatives wasn't some heartwarming family reconciliation moment. It was a desperate financial negotiation disguised as father-son bonding time. That meeting at the Royal Overseas League, the one where they were photographed having drinks on the patio like old friends, that was Harry's team essentially waving a white flag. Sources are saying the money is completely drying up and Harry's coming back cup in hand to daddy, just like Charles probably predicted would happen. But here's the most telling part about this whole situation. Prince William's team was deliberately excluded from these talks. Think about what that means. Harry can't even face his brother because William represents the future of the monarchy, and William has zero interest in bailing out someone who spent years trashing the family business. So Harry's trying to work around William by appealing directly to his father's emotions, while Charles is still king and might still have some paternal sympathy left.
Prince William has never attempted to or advised King Charles against opening communications with Harry or reaching out or anything like that. But rather, Prince William has made it clear that he prefers to not get involved.
Prince William is playing the long game like an absolute pro, and it's probably driving Harry insane. William understands that any deal Charles makes with Harry becomes William's problem in future. So William's positioning himself as the protective son who won't let his father get manipulated by the prodigal son's financial desperation. Royal experts are saying William really doesn't want anything to do with Harry right now, and honestly, can you blame him? William watched Harry attack the institution William will someday lead, trash their stepmother publicly, and basically turn the family's private business into a Netflix documentary series. Now Harry wants back in when the money runs out? William's not having it. The genius of William's strategy is that he's forcing Harry to prove himself to Charles first, knowing full well that Harry's track record suggests he'll mess it up somehow. William doesn't have to be the bad guy, he just has to wait for Harry to be Harry. The most pathetic part of this entire situation is Harry's reported offer to share his official diary with the palace. This is the same man who spent years positioning himself as independent from royal machinery, and now he's volunteering to coordinate his schedule with the very institution he publicly attacked. Think about what this really means. Harry is so desperate for any connection to royal resources that he's willing to give up the independence he claimed was so important to him.
That although he won't go so far as to let Prince William manage his schedule, he is, for the first time since tensions began in 2020, open to Prince William being informed of his whereabouts. What a charitable sacrifice.
But even this olive branch comes with a catch that reveals Harry hasn't really changed. Sources say he still doesn't like being controlled by the royal machinery, which means he wants the benefits of coordination without actually submitting to authority. It's like a teenager asking for money while insisting they don't need to follow house rules.
He simply doesn't speak about Harry at all, doesn't think about Harry, and is keen to keep distance from Harry and Meghan for the foreseeable future.
The Meet Me at the Lake disaster perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with Meghan's approach to business and why Netflix finally pulled the plug on their $100 million deal. Here we have a streaming giant that shelled out $3 million for the rights to Carly Fortune's best-selling romance novel, expecting their high-profile royal producers to deliver compelling content. Instead, they got absolutely nothing for nearly 2 years. What makes this situation even more infuriating is how Meghan positioned herself as this Hollywood mastermind who could transform literary properties into streaming gold. She had zero producing experience beyond her failed royal documentaries, yet she convinced Netflix executives that she had the vision and work ethic to adapt a complex romance novel dealing with themes of loss, mental health, and second chances. The irony is palpable when you consider these are exactly the topics Meghan claims to champion, yet she couldn't be bothered to actually develop the project.
So they optioned this book, and it goes nowhere. It was just reported in Page 6 on the New York Post in an exclusive, no director, no producer, it's sitting around collecting dust. Of course Netflix is pissed.
Netflix sources are reportedly mildly infuriated by the complete lack of progress on Meet Me at the Lake. By July 2025, with their contract expiring in September, there's still no director attached, no cast secured, and no clear production timeline. Industry insiders are asking the obvious question: what's betting that this project will never see the light of day? The answer seems increasingly clear as Netflix shifts away from expensive multi-year deals with unreliable talent. This stalled adaptation represents everything frustrating about Meghan and Harry's work ethic. She jumps from passion project to passion project without ever completing anything substantial. One day she's launching American Riviera Orchard with great fanfare. Then she's pivoting to As Ever, after trademark issues. Then she's promising cooking shows, then lifestyle content, then back to jam making, then wine production. Meanwhile, a $3 million book option sits collecting dust because she can't maintain focus long enough to see any project through to completion.
Because I look at Meghan and Harry now as sort of reality stars like the Kardashians, but the Kardashians know how to hawk their products. They know how to build Skims and those brands and good American jeans.
The timing couldn't be worse for the Sussexes' relationship with Netflix. Their latest viewership numbers are absolutely brutal, with Love Meghan ranked 383rd with only 5.3 million views, while Harry's Polo documentary attracted a pathetic 500,000 viewers. These aren't the kind of numbers that justify massive book option investments or continued partnership renewals. What's particularly damaging is how this pattern of abandonment extends beyond just Netflix projects. Meghan's entire business strategy seems built on generating initial excitement through announcements and launches, then immediately moving on to the next shiny object without delivering on previous promises. Her As Ever products consistently sell out within minutes, but industry observers suspect this reflects limited inventory rather than genuine demand. The Meet Me at the Lake situation also highlights the fundamental disconnect between Meghan's self-perception and her actual capabilities. She presents herself as a content creator and producer, but her track record shows someone who excels at generating press coverage for new ventures while systematically failing to execute on existing commitments. Netflix executives have reportedly concluded that while the Sussexes delivered initial hits with their documentary series, the content got weaker from there on, as Meghan's attention deficit became increasingly apparent. For a streaming platform operating in an intensely competitive environment where every $1 million investment must generate measurable returns, the Sussexes represent exactly the kind of unreliable talent they can no longer afford to support. The Meet Me at the Lake debacle isn't just about one failed book adaptation. It's a perfect example of why major entertainment companies are increasingly reluctant to bet their resources on celebrities who promise big but consistently fail to deliver. The Dorian Awards meltdown wasn't just another celebrity tantrum, it was Prince Harry's fantasy colliding with financial reality. That explosive reaction to being called Harry Windsor revealed a man desperately clinging to titles he claimed to reject, because those titles are his only remaining currency. With Netflix deals gone and $20 million annual expenses mounting, the math is devastating. This isn't about family reconciliation. It's financial desperation disguised as father-son bonding. Harry thought he could burn bridges while maintaining royal status, but Hollywood doesn't care about unemployed royalty. Sometimes the most expensive lessons teach you that respect isn't inherited.